Guys, thank you very much for joining me here today. Polina talking to you a little bit about the full moon on the 28th of Jan in the gorgeous sign of Leo. We have a large stellium collected here between Capricorn and Aquarius, opposing the moon, of course. We also have a very, very stylish and very sophisticated Mars-Uranus conjunction that is balancing it all out for us as well. We have got a very, very nice Jupiter conjunct the Sun exactly, and also Venus conjunct Pluto. She is traveling slowly but surely towards Jupiter, where she will meet him in the sky, which is always a good sign. So there are good things coming, okay? There's going to be some very, very nice stuff happening. It's just that we are not all ready to mentally, physically, financially, emotionally, practically accept those good things. I don't believe that everybody is in that right state of mind. I don't feel that everybody is positive enough to really know what this all means and where it's going. And I feel that sometimes our karmas, our fears, our previous beliefs, our detrimental mental states, or other things can pursue us further than we think. And I feel that they can also debilitate this grandness that this time should really have. So a culmination is correct, and there should be probably many culminations that are right for you. And sometimes nature will escalate or culminate seemingly the bad things, or the uncomfortable things first, before the bigger chunk of progress is seen. So we are, no matter what, heading towards a pretty good time. I just feel that for some of us, we're not yet ready to open up and party, or just to believe it. To believe that we're in for some good things here, and a long haul timeline also with Saturn and the Sun being so close together, a long haul timeline of things that are good, and also more things that are good to come. So I'm kind of feeling to ask, how are you feeling? Are you ready yet to be fine? Are you ready yet to be good? Are you ready to admit that life is simply great? Do you have enough? Also, have you been nurtured? Do you have all the things that you need in your home? Do you have all the things you need for work? Do you have all the ingredients that you need in the fridge to just have a good time? And sometimes, the answer is no. And we don't trust that we have what we or who we really need to have in our lives, but not so fast. The thing here is basically to try and define those little parts of ourselves and other people that are naughty parts. What I mean naughty parts, naughty parts is parts of our character, parts of our dream, parts of ourself, parts of our being, that are just not happy all the time. And sometimes it could be something very, very, very grand that may happen because of one of those parts being just simply unhappy with it all. Sometimes this is when people steal for no reason. Sometimes it's when people cheat, where people, make really, really bad sense of their world, or they do very, very bad things, nasty things sometimes. And it's not really because they have to. It's kind of like this naughty part that just wants to come out and just say, hey, guess what I think? And that means with any kind of perhaps sneaky, premeditated or undermining behavior, any kind of strange experiences, any kind of need to control, any kind of need to work in a certain way, any kind of need for guilt, coming from another person, any kind of need to make oneself stronger and more big, grand, based on the diminishment of somebody else or something else. We have to kind of end that stuff. So anything naughty, facetious and unkind has to end, especially if you're kind of knowing that you're doing it. And if there's any kind of also deliberate need to funk things up with people. So for example, telling something to somebody that they don't really need to hear right now, being in a mix with people in a way which makes people uncomfortable, all of that kind of stuff that can be understood as maybe slightly malevolent, childish behavior, or just ungrateful behavior. Anything like that can sometimes lead to many a thing that we didn't really want to be part of, and also we don't really want to cause pain. Sometimes we just think it's fun at the time. So we have to understand if there's any kind of sneakishness happening also with us. If anybody has, for example, taken your money and not provided a service, especially in the last while, if you have been duped a little bit, if you have been stuffed around, if anybody's mucking you around, sometimes the lion awakes in a very, very peculiar way, and sometimes we've been waiting all our lives for this. Some things that are happening here are quite big. For some people, there is a way of life that is no longer evolved. There are certain choices and certain life aspects that just can no longer be. And for a lot of us people, also there are choices to be made. And some of them are very brutal and hard ones. And I feel that also this moon is going to underline where you do not want to be again, or where you don't want to participate on the previous wave, on the previous state or previous set of rules. And that's quite okay. So that feeling of I'm not putting up with this anymore, in that very almost like childish way, benevolent way. I'm not going to give you money for nothing anymore. I don't want you to be my friend anymore like this. I can't participate in this anymore. So this kind of sulky feeling is actually the heart trying to wake up and help the body to purify. It can be a very purifying time for us. And it can also be the mind wishing for just much grander, larger things. And it's wishing for maybe the whole world to evolve. So these very large, hearty ideas, or these groups, or this big life choice, or this feeling for the world, this feeling for wishing to save the children, save the trees, help each other out. All of this kind of stuff is very, very here and now. So any kind of a big howl that your journey maybe has been waiting for, and you have also been waiting for, is here and now. And I feel that the main thing here is not to overstate it, because it is only going to be bigger and bigger and bigger and gain momentum afterwards. It's just important to know that you're doing it. So for example, if you have this big cry for help, if you have this big yelp for attention, if you have this big mournful sigh, if you have this incredible wish or incredible delight, it should really make itself seen. You should really see where it's coming from and how come. So any kind of grandness, any kind of grandeur that is coming out of an individual, I hope can be seen in full light, and it hopefully will actually give you greater and better things. And sometimes I'm also feeling that these types of energies, these types of essences can make a call that lasts and lasts and lasts. So for many months you might have a cause and effect that balances out, or is a balancer, I suppose, of these types of howls, or these types of prayers, or these types of needs, or these types of energies that are coming out of some people now. If you have not got anything large, maybe there is something small, and that can be either good or bad. I mean, it kind of depends. It's up to you. I feel that the lucky ones have a very, very nice kind of smallness to things, and can easily balance out everything. So a little giggle here, a little giggle there, a little flutter of the heart, a little flutter of the heart some more. So I feel that the more balanced people in this current state of awakening, or potentially a state of confusion for some, are maybe going to experience a multi-flutter of sorts. So this is where the soul feels gradually more and more interested, more and more curious, more and more amused, or less and less amused. So the thing here is basically to notice where it's coming from. I feel that some people are starting to come out. It's almost like they are like little animals, and they're feeling safe enough after the rain, after the flood, to come out of their burrows. Is kind of how it is feeling. I'm also feeling this really incredible sense of the new earth mentality coming through. So some people, some of the lucky ones, are feeling, hey, I can go out there and sing my song now, or hey guys, I can now face the day. Hey, I can come back to my favorite place. I can be there where I want to be. So it's almost like birds filling up the trees again, or little critters coming out to meet the day. So this is how I'm feeling. There's a lot of revival also here and now. I trust there's probably not many people that know this about themselves, but a lot of their ancient ancestral stuff might be coming out. but in some of the most maybe horrific or beautiful ways. And this can go either way. So maybe some people are, picking up a musical instrument that their grandfather has played. Some people feel safe enough to wear their tribal clothing. This incredible, this stuff. Some people are safe enough to cook their ancestral traditional meals or talk about God in the way that their ancestors have. And also some people might experience an overhaul of other type of dimensionality in terms of their ancestral comebacks. For example, if their father has been through a war, maybe there's fear of people that is coming over, or there's like a fear that one's going to be in danger very soon. Some people that have been through wars in their previous lives also, or ancestrally, might experience a very, very significant comeback of that. Fear or joy, this is all kind of irrelevant as to, in a way, what it is. It's just coming up to the surface. It's almost like, like a snow globe being shaken, and some of these previous assets, or some of these previous dreams, some of these previous stories, some of these previous wrongs, or some of these previous ideas are going to start to set themselves right. And for some people, this is actually quite comical and quite interesting, and I think it can be a very, very positive thing. So sometimes like a certain asset comes out of you in the weirdest of time. It's like you didn't know it, but hey, here's how you experience joy at this time of your life. It's like, oh, I didn't really want to tell you guys, but like I really love to cook, and I'm going to like make all these traditional dishes for you, for example. That's what I've been doing lately. Or for example, I didn't really want to tell you, but I'm actually like really good at this. Or I didn't really want to make a big deal, but I just want to tell you that I have like a present for you. Or there's like a really great idea that I want to launch. And this can be bad as well. This can also be sometimes very damaging, very wounding for people. Polarity is very likely to be experienced on the whole. I believe that some people might be very much in fear, like, wow, I never wanted to tell you, but here it is, like, I really don't like this, I really don't like you, I really don't like your friends, la la la. So this like really like angular toothiness can come out as well. And the main thing basically is to know that whoever is coming out of your unconscious closet, whatever is coming out of your dream states, whatever is coming out of your psyche, there are certain ways in which it will form the next wave of events. So for example, if you are suddenly the bravest person that you've ever been, and it's very, very strong, so for example, if you in case just say, wow, I'm just going to grab my bag and I'm just going to walk into the world, I'm going to like propose to that girl that I love, I'm going to just like make all this money, like on the road playing guitar. Like if you have this sudden braveness, this is not just a little phase. So there is a chance that a lot of this newfound energy, a lot of this newfound glamour, a lot of this newfound issue, anything that is kind of like coming out quite strong as a lion's roar at the moment, is not going to just be like 1 or 2 days. Oh, it's like, oh, no, he just needs to relax, he just needs some time, and then afterwards he'll be fine. Some of this is going to be like relentlessly beating in your heart. We do have a Leo moon, the heart is important here. Or it's going to come to a great change, or there's going to be a cause and effect, or a state of things that is going to be affected by these big shoots of who we are now. And the way that they are is kind of yours to follow. The main thing basically that I would probably do is not to consider them lightly. So for example, if you have a friend who wants to end their life, or do something very extreme, that's not going to be one of those little things that someone says sometimes because they get angry. Sometimes it's not just because they are angry. Sometimes it can actually be part of an ancestral path, or it could be part of their future. So I would definitely not dismiss anything that your child says these days, you see. And also that you are saying, and also people in your family and close to you are saying, especially if they're speaking really from the heart and they don't know why, but the tears come or the laughter comes or something really, really strong comes. Now, how to detox during this time? Okay, so not everyone can do this right now, but I feel that a lot of us have beat up old feelings that we can actually debunk and shed. I'm not telling you to do this, I'm just saying for certain people, I believe there is a shortcut, there's a quickening. If you're experiencing muffle and kind of like things seem really stuffed up, or maybe you're looking at life and nothing matches, if anything is in a state of chaos or disarray, or if you're like afraid that somehow you cannot have a certain thing happen in your life, or things seem to be an effort, or there's something that is seemingly inevitable that is taking place, or events are out of your control or out of your reach, if anything like that is happening to you, it is kind of going to probably stay the same, or there's going to be ways to focus on it later. I would probably not force anything if there's disarray. So disorganization is part of life, and is actually part of what makes this whole planet grow. So chaos to a degree is a growth mechanism. If we don't know what to do sometimes, if we don't know where to go, if we don't know who is who, if we're really, really afraid of a certain deliberate answer, if we are really afraid that certain people will not be part of our lives, if we're really scared as to how it's all gonna go, and there's like an impending feeling, or there's like this kind of feeling like no matter how much I try, I get the same thing, or I'm not going to get there, or this is not going to be what I want it to be. Any kind of a doomsday stuff, like doomy stuff, it is going to have to be like this. And in some cases, that's it. Like you're looking at the picture, that's it. Like say, sometimes, okay, this guy, no matter how much you talk, you just, it's like water off a duck's back. It never delivers. Sometimes that's as good as it gets, and you just have to be okay. Red solves problems for us. Some of these are not going to be solved. Okay, like some of this is just like, and at the end of the day, that is not going to get solved. Okay. And then for some people also, there is going to be a solving of a problem. There is going to be perhaps like a nice person walking and helping you with the keys. There are going to be people that are going to help you reprogram or see yourself in a better light, and the program is going to start to dissolve. Okay, the karmic stuff is going to go. For certain people, there's going to be a godsend, like a beautiful person, or a very trendy lawyer, or a very good doctor, specialist, professional, somebody out there. For some people still is possible. It's almost like an angel coming into your life fixing things. That is very likely. But for certain people, that's not the problem, and some people just have to move on. So for example, if you are reaching a certain point of non-success or non-completion with something or somebody, that's going to have to be kind of good. And for some people, that needs to be seen as the end result. So for instance, no matter how much I process my feelings, it is just always going to end up as this. It's like almost like a moody cycle that will never give you anything else but a certain type of result. No matter how many times we talk, we always fight. Okay, cool. Anytime you have these cycles, you got to basically consider yourself first and try to take yourself out of any kind of formula that makes you believe that you've got to suffer to make it a meaningful life. And sometimes that's all it is. We have Saturn very close to the Sun, Venus coming to Saturn. Sometimes it's never enough. Okay, also sometimes there is a ravenousness about the results that you're reaching, and perfection is never perfect enough. That is also something to understand. And for certain people, it's not really about making things whole or having a certain type of completion or result. It's not even about helping each other or being a better person or anything like that. It is just about living an awkward life, and that sometimes can be cultural. So for example, in my culture, I'm Russian, and we have a certain mystery that we find collectively within things that just will never work. You know, it's like, this person is not compatible for me, but I will never stop trying or trusting them. You know, sometimes there's certain paths that we take that, like for example, the Christian path. You know, in an extreme sense, if your cheek has been hit, let them hit the other cheek. kind of like that kind of stuff. I'm not quite sure about the actual wording, but that's kind of the concept. You know, if you have been smacked once, you know, don't be afraid to be smacked twice, you know, this kind of thing. And there's like a very B&D, S&M kind of feel that sometimes that gives us. And it's actually very interesting how many programs that are stupidly normal in people's lives that are very S&M and B&D, and we just keep on kind of like going with these themes. But anyway, what more is it's important in this time to understand us. You know, it's important to understand who we are, to recognize our sustenance and our worth, and also where we have lack of that. It's like you are standing away from the picture and you're seeing what it looks like overall. It's a really, really good time now to take into account your accounts, your financial statements. It's a very, very beautiful 11th sign, you know, Jupiter in the 11th sign, it's near completion. You know, it's a really, really beautiful time to understand what we've done in this world, how things are looking, how certain materials have lasted. I mean, if you are working with pharmaceuticals, for example, if you're working with any kind of industry, if you have any long haul success or programs or progress, it's a very, very interesting time now to understand those things. It's like, okay, so now I'm going to have a look at my accounts over the last 10 years or 20 years and see how I have done overall, and what are those things that I am sort of trying to nurture or look after. Very nice to look at your children as well. During this time, very, very interesting time to look at the progress that your child is making at school, how they're going, are they vulnerable for any reason? Also, is there any vulnerability within yourself as a parent as well? So any of that stuff is very, very great for us, and also very grateful to you later. It's also very, very nice to see a progression of result, a progression of any type, progression of people, progression of events, cause and effect, seeing the deeper timeline behind a certain emotional or even financial value. You know, like, why did that store close down? Why did your business fail? Anything like this, if you want to, and if it is not too hard. You know, so protect yourself from any kind of negative impulses here. If it's not too difficult, you can really like debunk anything. You can see anything probably in the greater timeline and see how it did in the last 12 or 20 years. I mean, this is a very interesting, beautiful time for families. It's a very incredible time for friendships, and it's actually a very, very interesting time to really get in the zone. And when it comes to any kind of decision making, when it comes to any kind of fruiting and understanding how to turn that key or how to put things straight in the future, financially especially, and when it comes to just like getting a better success, you know, greater success out of who you are and what you're doing. It's one of the greatest times to strategize, but that strategy has to be full on beautiful and interesting. It can't be one of those hard-nosed contracted strategies, and that's something that I've actually talked about by the end of Capricorn. Capricorn, by the end degree, contracts things and makes them almost near impossible to leave later. There is something very, very sustaining and very, very hard and very, very crystallized that can happen with us sometimes by the end of Capricorn. If we don't really like what we're feeling, if we're not really taking pleasure out of life, if we're not in pleasure of the world, if we're not really feeling fulfilled, if we're not really feeling lucky or fruity or fun or open or empty enough to laugh, you know what I mean, empty enough to enjoy, you know, just fun, if we're not feeling all of these incredible normal natural things, sometimes it's not really of joy that you do the next thing. So the next thing is coming for a lot of us. I actually believe that in the next while we are going to see grand results in some cases. It feels like some people are already ready to embark. I've already done a reading for 2021 for people and what to expect, and some of us are already feeling lucky enough to be able to say pretty well as to the next phase of our results or where we want to be in the next phase of life, and we can probably see that mountain that we want to climb in some cases, and that is very well indeed. But I also believe that in some people's lives there might need to be a question mark as to the joy that you're going to be getting from this next phase, or the truth that you're going to be getting from that next result that you might be already ready to embark on. And it also feels to me that not many of us are really faithful or kind enough to ourselves and other people and the greater world to really admit what we are feeling and where that commitment or maybe committal issue is coming from. So all of these little glitches, all of those ins and outs and little feelings, little twinkles, anything that we really, really feel, we should probably be mature enough to see by now. We are in the 11th house, the next sign is Pisces. We also have some things dragging behind the sun, so it's a very interesting time for psychology, psychological review of who you are and how you're doing. It's almost like the method of your world is seen by now. How you've been going all your life is seen by now. What you concentrate on is probably pretty obvious and epic to see. What is that voice behind the one that you used to speak? What is that energy behind the energy you used to create and do? What is that person that you've been probably in the previous life or in the previous dimension, or who your ancestors have been to breathe life into you? Like, who are you? So Aquarius is the sign of the guide in a way, you know. So in a way, this is like the last phase of human evolution before Pisces takes it all away, before it's all washed away into the sands of time. We have now a very, very nice strongness and also fragility, I suppose, with this moon in Leo stating us clear. And sometimes we have to state it before it can be resolved or before we use it further. And for a lot of people, there are some quite a bit actually of time needed to resolve things, you know. So for example, if you have sadness in the maternal line that you're repeating with your behavior, if you have difficulty, if you have disease, if you have destruction, if you use destruction in your method, if there's naughtiness, if you enjoy to be naughty with people, if you like to take people for granted, if you're playing games with another, if you are using your time incorrectly, if you're not very well in the mind, if you are paranoid, if you're keeping some fear behind. This is not probably something you want to take into the next year, considering we're coming into the golden ox pretty much now. So I'm turning 36 this year, so I'm also an ox, born in 85, fantastic. It's a very, very fantastic time for some to finally get clear on who they are and become very, very open, very, very clean and kind, and just obvious about their lives and their strategy. So for somebody like me, it's a very, very nice time. But there is going to be a lot of struggle if people are not ready yet to really become who they are and to just embody themselves. And I also believe that because of the times, this is important, because of the times, trauma work is not going to guarantee any kind of shift for us. So that shadow work that we used to love doing back in like 2013, 2014, when people started waking up and they're like, oh my God, it's my mom's stuff I'm carrying, or like, you know, this is what I was about since I was a child. Like, how do I save my soul? How do I save my life? You know, how do I make myself a better person? All this intense dark night of the soul stuff that we have been through, and for some people very intensely. I know people that swear by shadow work and they would not do it any other way. Shadow work. But at the moment, I feel this is probably the last window truly to fulfill that part and to try and get rid of anything inside, okay, that is going on, that is kind of tapping away, saying you did this, or this will never happen in your life, you know, all of this kind of stuff. We have a very, very difficult time in the world for the next 5 or 6 years to really get acquainted with how things work here and now. And some of us have to shift very fast, and we have to embed new systems and programs that are coming through. And that is probably the key here, is to be fast and quick and to enjoy life and to generate more heart energy and to speak well of the world and one another and to speak well of your truth in your past and also your new beginnings. But there is something also holding us down, and we will probably have 1 or 2 windows more in the coming years, you know, to really purge a lot. But I trust that it's going to be very, very difficult for a person who's concentrating on the shadow self, and I think it's going to be very, very hard for us to enjoy these people now. So I think that in collectives and groups and situations, there's going to be a certain type of removal of certain beings and entities from a group. Okay, I'm not telling you this is about people or like social cliques, but it can manifest as that. You know, sometimes we wonder like, oh, I've put so much money and time into this worldview, or I've done so much work, and I get this, and then I'm nothing, and then I don't get anything. Some people are not going to be able to participate in certain experiences because of their toxicity and their primal need to kind of turn sort of certain global events in their head and to kind of like negatively affect another person by their negative thinking patterns and feelings. So if you have already been segregating yourself, or if you've kind of like come out of some kind of social whirl and you're now interested in only being by yourself, or there are things about you that are not capable of mixing with other people, I think that's not probably the way to go right now, considering how the world is going to go in the future. And I also trust that many of us have got to have a space for another, and a space of open heart to be able to connect as if anew. So this is where in a new style of energy and how it works, we might be asked to fall into like a relationship within which we feel like we've never been in a different relationship. We'll be asked to try things we've never tried before. Maybe we'll be asked to laugh as if we never laughed before, love as if we never really fallen out of love before. Being here in the heart is really important right now. And also the time, I trust, is very, very real and very right for really good fortune, Sun, Jupiter, and really good fortunate events for those of us that are realizing now that we only live once, really, you know, in a way. And we only have this one chance to feel and to think and to emote, and at the moment is a holy moment, although there's all these other ways of interpreting time. And we need to really, really become open to that significance of this one holy state within which all things connect. And then later I feel, despite what happened, you know, who you are, who you were, who your mother was, how your father treated you, anything like this, it's going to be very innocent. I feel that for a lot of people, the next generation of life, the next generation of feeling is going to become much more infinite and innocently open, just because we are knowing now that sometimes the state of you is up to you. So it's the individual moment that helps you form you, although in the same sense nothing is individual in this life. So I believe in you, I trust in you, I feel that we're all going to get through this together. I feel that we need one another in order to succeed and to shine even greater. And yes, I wish you the best for this transit and greater cultivation of love, beauty and trust within you. Thank you. Bye.